Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, I'm going to talk about something that I don't think people expect when they become successful. So people intuitively know that once they're like a beginner at something, they're prone to criticism, right? Like you start out with something and let's say you're in elementary school and you suck at like team sports, you got the other little kids making fun of you, right? So people know as a beginner, like, hey, like you're going to get criticized, right? But what people don't understand is that at the opposite end of the spectrum, almost the same phenomena happens, and it's almost like there's some sort of weird invisible rule or societal incentive to make sure that you stay mediocre in order for you to not be criticized, and you just have to kind of blend in, don't be seen, don't be heard. Almost like when you're a child, right? Like you ever hear like the phrase that children are meant to be seen and not meant to be heard? But it's almost like that as an adult as well. It's kind of weird. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is that once you reach that level of success that you didn't think you would reach, no, there ain't going to be too many people congratulating you. And I'm not saying everyone's like this, right? Like there's going to be people out there who are rooting for you, and like for example, this channel, there's a lot of people rooting for me, but at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who will never acknowledge your success, and then you can almost kind of feel it in their energy that they don't like what you got to show, right? They don't like um, you showing what you've done because it makes them look bad or feel bad. It's this weird thing that people do. So it's like when you're starting out in life and you're broken poor, they'll criticize you to death because it's like, oh, you did something wrong, right? And so you work hard to get out of that, and it turns out, man, you're becoming successful. And then because you did too well, it's like, well, you did something wrong because, I have to be better than you. You ever get that feeling? So, I'm not the only one who's noticed this, right? And so there have been several public figures out there that I've kind of seen their videos where they mention this phenomena about like once people become successful, they just don't have the desire to help others. And to be honest, I think the only way that I feel like I can help others is just doing it through a platform like this where I don't show my face. Like people are like, why don't you show your face? Well, there's two reasons for that. Number one, I'm going to charge $10,000 to any gold tier members who want to see my face. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But to be honest, just because it's easier to, I like being anonymous, right? I mean, if we get to know each other, I'll tell you who I am. But for the most part, I like being anonymous. And again, I get to charge $10,000 to gold tier member YouTube subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. I joked about that, but I always like to joke about like, charging $10,000 to enter my Velocity Banking, I don't know, boot camp or whatever. I don't know if one day I'll actually do it and people will swipe their credit card, but I feel like I will be able to do that one day. But my point is that once you become successful, there have been several people out there, public figures talking about how they just have no desire to help others, and I completely understand that, right? And one of the most prominent videos that I could kind of that comes to my mind is by Grant Cardone, why successful people hide. And then he just talks about word for word, basically kind of what I've experienced is that people get envious and begin to hate and criticize, and they just pull the curtains to protect themselves, right? So this might be surprising to you. So I remember when I was making like 20 grand a year, I was just like being criticized because they made me feel like I did something wrong and I was a failure, right? But then, okay, well, I'm getting, working hard to prevent myself from drowning, and then, it turns out I'm I'm like an Olympic level swimmer, and I can actually, get myself out of these situations. And I'm talking metaphorically. Um, People don't like that. They think that makes you look bad. And so again, I've heard other stories where it's like, successful people, most successful people have been at the brink of failure so many times that they know what, like they can easily start from zero again. Like I don't know if you've heard that. And the reason why successful people don't want to mentor other people is that they see someone that they're going to put some time and energy into, and then they don't the mentee doesn't do anything. And not only that, like, come full circle, the mentee blames the mentor for the lack of success when the mentee didn't do anything. And this is why, when you come at the level of a boss or teacher or landlord, like someone who's kind of be perceived to be an authority figure, you really got to be careful when dealing with subordinates, because there's a lot of lazy um, people out there who just don't take any action. So you could be like the best coach in the world, and if you don't, if you have a tire kicker essentially as a student, they're gonna make it feel like it's your fault when you gave them all the support and resources that were necessary for them to succeed, right? So let me just kind of go here about what the unjust criticism you might face during your journey is that, and I kind of talked about this already. Number one is that you're going to be criticized for being a beginner, like, oh, you're no good, so why should you even try? In fact, I remember back in the 90s, there was this documentary or special by John Stossel, right? And he talked about the reasons why immigrants come to America. And there's this one dude, it was from a European country. I don't know if it was Sweden, but he was like, yeah, back in my country, like, you're just basically brainwashed not to try. Like, it's like, don't try, it's not worth it. That's like the mentality of the country. And so I was like, dang, that's pretty harsh, right? But you know what? I feel like that mentality is just kind of seeped into like the American population, because very few people admire success or admire people who do things better than me. Every time I meet someone who does something better than me, I'm like, oh man, I'm excited because I got someone to learn from. In fact, recently I was talking to two separate people. I was talking to an older Korean gentleman on the phone, and he has like millions of dollars in commercial real estate, and he's willing to lend money. I was like, hey, if you want $5 million for a good real estate deals, I'll lend it to you. And I'm like, oh dang, like I gotta get working, because like I'm a little bit lazy, and I was just planning to do one deal a year or one deal every couple of years based on my my model, because I'm a little bit lazy. But again, like the fact that he came and then started commercial real estate in the 90s and just is really rich, and immigrant success story, good for him, right? And in fact, I met another person, a Chinese lady who was a nurse and has been fixing and flipping homes for 10 years. And she told me that I got like 10 homes that I gotta flip a month because people are just sending me deals and I need capital. I'm like, dang, So again, I just see that people to learn from, and maybe they got some a little bit to learn from me. I don't know. If I don't, who cares? But the thing is that I've noticed that when you're too good at what you do, that you get criticized for it. People throw shade. Like, you ever notice that? It's like, you're just excited to be part of the opportunity or part of the team, and then you want to give it your all, and it's like it's like people criticizing you because you want to give it your all. It's like, why are we even here? But that's how a lot of things are. You know what I'm saying? So if you experience that, that's actually, I would say, the norm. And here's the other thing too. A lot of people, what they do is they constantly watch YouTube videos because they think that it's a lack of knowledge preventing them from succeeding, when really it's because of other people being their worst liabilities. And so when you share your plans or ideas, jealousy and ego thrown at you, shade thrown at you, is essentially your worst liability. Like, so for example, you might have been watching YouTube videos being excited about real estate, and then you share that knowledge with other people, or it could be velocity banking, and they're like, why would you do that? Right? In this weird, unjust, tone. And then they might be like, they might be throwing shade at you, and then that will prevent you from taking action, right? Sometimes that negative energy really just prevents us from doing what we're meant for us to do. Okay. And again, that jealousy and ego, that could be, thrown, that could be the root of them throwing shade at you and saying things like, hey, don't, you know what, you don't even have any life experience, so why would you be able to do this? You ever hear stuff like that? But that's just the unjust criticism that you're gonna receive, and you got to expect it. Like, you got to prepare for it. So it's better prepare for it now, if you before you start, I'm sorry, I got spit all over me. But before you start, then being like blindsided, because I think that's what happens to a lot of people. Like they get blindsided. There's people. I remember watching this Dave Ramsey video about how this guy became a millionaire, and all of this his family does is ask him for money. Is like, dang, like you think that once you become successful, you want to inspire others to kind of be at your level instead of just like leeching off of you, right? I don't mind giving handouts, but when people just give that leech energy, it's like, dang, like I can't do that. I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? But that's just what's going to happen when you become successful. Is you're gonna almost experience the same criticisms that you received when you were just a beginner. It's weird. Like I said, society, there's this invisible force in society that incentivizes is mediocrity in order to not be criticized. Okay. All right. Well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google Form link below, and then we can get on a one-on-one Zoom call. Other than that, have a great day, happy Sunday, and we'll see you on the next video.